Hey guys, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today's video is a video that I have wanted to do for quite a while now, but I think now's probably I'm in a better position to actually talk about it, and that is why I came off of hormonal contraception and, to be honest, how it has completely changed my life. I'm going to try and make this video as concise as I can. I have wrote notes so I don't forget anything, because I know you probably don't want to watch a really lengthy video on this, but I do feel like for me to make such a bold statement that it's made such a big impact on my life, I had to give you some background. Obviously, you know, it's a huge topic, so I could talk all day about it, but I'm going to try and make it as quick and to the point as I can. Before I start this video, I'm not telling anyone to come off of your contraception. That is a decision you have to make yourself. I'm not a doctor. I don't know the reasons for what you're on your pill or your coil or whatever. I just know that this is a decision that I decided to make, and it had such a huge impact on me that I do want to share it. Also, no, I'm not trying to get pregnant. I'm 22 years old. I've got a lot of life to live. I'm not thinking about babies. This decision was for different reasons. Let's get into it. So the easiest way to start is to go back about 7 months now, 6-7 months, to earlier this year. Now, I have been very open. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll know this, that I have had several, or I do struggle a little bit with my mental health, in terms of I used to suffer with really bad anxiety, and the end of my second year at university and my third year at university, I was so upset. I've had counselling before, and I've never really shied away from that because I think it's important. But earlier this year, I was not in a good way at all. I was really struggling to just do normal things. I'd have really, really low points. I would have really awful social anxiety. I found going out so difficult that I almost stopped going out altogether. I stopped drinking alcohol for a little while because I thought maybe that might help. But every time we were asked to go out with our friends, I just couldn't hack it. I just didn't feel like myself because I was so nervous all the time. I also just felt like I was completely losing control over my emotions. And the easiest way I can kind of explain this is, say you had a situation, and you, on the one hand, you know that tomorrow morning that situation is probably not going to matter and you can let it slide, or you've got the side that's like, no, this is an issue, we need to talk about it. And I just couldn't come to that agreement, and rather than it being, you know, this won't matter tomorrow, or it being resolved, I just couldn't come to either, and I would just have a meltdown to the point where I would get myself so stressed out and so upset that I would make myself unwell. I was just really struggling, and it got to the point where I actually did go to my mum and dad, and I just said, you know what, I need some help. I can't do this on my own anymore, and maybe I need to see a counsellor or whatever. Up to this point, I had been doing a little bit of research. My boyfriend had been doing a bit of research, and also some of my friends had been saying, Sophie, have you ever thought about coming off of your contraceptive pill? Now, I had never considered my pill to be a problem for me. It never impacted my skin. I never gained weight. I had a regular period. I was on the pill Lucette, where you stop taking your pill and then you have a 7-day break, you have a period, etc. And I had never considered it to be a problem for me at all. It just be something that I decided to do when I was obviously getting a boyfriend when I was younger, and that was it. I never really placed too much thought onto what I was really putting into my body, and I never really saw that that could have been a issue for me. When people were saying to me, why don't you come off your pill, I was like, that's not the problem. You know, that's not a problem. I'm just, you know, I can't work out my emotions. I just need some help. Anyway, the more I kind of dwelled on it, and it was getting to this point where I was like, I need some help, I decided that before I made the decision to spend money on getting a counsellor or going to the doctors, I was going to try coming off my pill. It was a decision that I made with my boyfriend Jack, and you know, girls, it's your body. You should be able to do whatever the hell you want with it. However, if you do have a boyfriend or a partner, you probably should let them know that you're planning to come off of your contraception if you're not wanting a child. He was really up for it because he'd seen how much I was struggling, and I just decided to make the decision. I really wanted to see whether this was going to make a difference, and I didn't want lots of people to know, just because I wanted to see if they noticed any change in me. I weighed up the pros and the cons of the decision I was making, and if I'm honest, my mental health just came first above everything. Like, make the decision, do what you need to do for you. So I did, and I was really interested not only to see how it was gonna change me, if it was going to change me at all, but also your period is the only indication we get as women that our body is functioning optimally, and I don't think that's made clear enough to us when we're younger, and you don't really come to think of it until you're put in a position where you might consider that you want a child. And I also never realised that the period that you have when you're on your pill is not a real period. As much as I wanted to see what was going to go on for my mental health, if it was going to make any change, I also was really excited to see if my body was functioning optimally, when I was going to get my period back, because I'd heard loads of different things. I'd heard that it can come back in a couple of weeks, but then that wasn't a real period. It can come back a month later. It can come back 6 months later. So I was also very interested to see what happened. I almost wish I documented what happened like in those first 4 weeks, because personally I really felt like I started to feel a change after 4 weeks. But you know, I can just say that now. I'm not 100% sure whether that was actually true, but within, I'd say, the first 2 months of being off of my pill, my mum turned around to me and she said, "Sophie, I don't know what it is about you, but you just seem so much happier in yourself. You seem like you know you've got such a bigger sense of self. You're so much more confident." And that was like the biggest thing that anyone could have said, because I felt like that as well. I felt like I finally knew where my head was at. I knew what I wanted, where I was going. I knew what I wanted to do, rather than how it had felt for the last however long, last year, is fuzzy. Like, I couldn't make my decisions. I didn't know what I wanted, and I was just going through the motions. I also had Jack just noticing the change in me, and Jack's friends noticing the change in me when we were out, and that was just such a nice thing for me to finally be like, oh my god, the change I was feeling in myself, other people were noticing. I was writing everything down and thinking, what am I going to talk about? There was definitely a few things that definitely came up for me that I wanted to speak about. So the first one was the periods themselves. I got my period back after 6 weeks, which I was really shocked but also really happy about, because I was happy that that was a good indication to me that my body was, you know, happy. Before I went on my pill, I had pretty heavy periods, and this hasn't changed. I've got them back. I have found them fine. You know, it's not the hardest thing to manage in the world. I am considering getting a moon cup because I've heard that they're pretty good, but I'm just happy that I've got my period back and it's manageable. So the periods themselves haven't changed. They're not painful, they're just a normal period, and I don't think that I've had much change, or the pill that made much of a difference to them, in a sense. Obviously they were a lot lighter when I was on my pill, and they're a lot heavier now, but only for the first couple of days, and I do find that they last a little bit longer, but I'm hoping that with transitioning into the moon cup that makes a bit of a difference. The second thing I wrote about was hormones and like your emotions. The first few months are rough, I think, for hormones and emotions, because I think your body is just like, whoa. I was massively like emotional at times. I struggled a lot with some hormonal acne, which obviously is, I was going to speak about acne anyway, but I think that does come into play with hormones, because your hormones are just all over the place. And definitely give that time to settle. Like, it will settle and it will calm down, just give it time. I was freaking out over my skin, because obviously my skin is important for me and I've struggled with it a lot in the past. I was freaking out, but now, and I'm so probably about 7 months down the line now, it has calm down. I know I'm gonna get spots when I'm on my period. I know my skin clears up really well a couple days before I ovulate. It's random. My biggest tips are, stick to the skincare routine that you do. Don't go introducing loads of new products to your skin in that time. Literally stick to whatever you do. Don't go introducing all these things. Don't go popping them. They will go down. Just bear with it. That, you know, that's my experience anyway. I think, because I have not had spots as bad as they were within those first few months, and that did get to me, and I was like, oh my god, my skin. But ride it out. The emotions is, I feel like that's a lot. The week before my period is, wow, I am all over the place. I cry all the time. I'm up, I'm down. Yeah, it's a crazy week. So that's one thing I've noticed. The week before my period, my emotions are so raging and all over the place. And then when I'm ovulating, I'm exhausted. I could sleep all week. I want to eat a lot. I've definitely noticed that. My sex drive is higher. I'll keep that one a bit quiet. But yeah, that's something I've definitely noticed. And most importantly, I feel like a new woman. I get emotional talking about it, that I'm gonna well up, but I just feel like a new woman. I was in such an awful place before, and I know that this is completely subjective, you know, just because, oh god, look, I had my lashes done today, I can't cry. Just because that I've had this experience, it doesn't mean that you're like, someone else might have the same experience, but everyone I've spoke to has kind of had a similar experience to me when coming off the pill with their emotions, and they really had this change. And I just feel like, I finally feel like the woman I'm meant to be. As cringy as that sounds, like, I have a purpose, I can make decisions. Of course I still get bouts of anxiety, but nowhere near as bad as they ever were. I just feel like a new person. I go out, I have the great time, I start drinking again and having fun. And yeah, it's the best decision that I've ever made. I did debate going onto a different kind of form of contraception, one that doesn't have a hormonal input, so I think you can get the coil. But right now I'm not really considering that. I'm tracking my cycles, I'm being safe. The one thing I will say is that if you're going to make this decision, you need to actually understand the consequences and the responsibility that you're, you know, now having. But I think you had a responsibility when you were taking your pill anyway, so it's no different. If you are planning to not go on to a different contraception, one without hormones or something like that, I would definitely consider starting tracking your cycle. You can't get pregnant every day of the month, like, it's a myth, but you can when you are fertile, when you're ovulating. So it's definitely a good idea to get yourself an app. There's apps like Clue. You can track it on your phone, I think on your iPhone now. Just be aware and be cautious around those times of the month, or use a different form of contraception. I just feel really passionate about this topic now, and that's why I wanted to talk about it. And I hope that by me talking about it has maybe made some people think about the ways that their contraception may be affecting them, if it's a decision that they have been thinking about. And it's not right for everybody, but it was right for me, and I will never put chemicals like that in my body again. So guys, I hope this video has given you a little bit of an insight into the reasons why I decided to come off my pill and why it was the best decision I ever made. And if you like this video, please like and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you in the next vid.